Speaking Sports this evening. It's a great night. We have a lot of stuff in store for you. If I have one of my friends on that can possibly go ahead and share this, it'll definitely help me immensely as we are trying to get started right now here. So I am going to go ahead and start up real quickly. So stay with me. Hopefully everybody will be back in one moment. Let me try to do this. So I do apologize about some of the technical difficulties that we are having. In one moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this real quick. About some of the technical difficulties that we are having. So I will get as much of this done as possible. Go ahead and do this real quick. About some of the technical difficulties that we are having. All right. Looks like that's the most I can do right now. So thank you all very much for coming back. Want to, first of all, tell you we are sponsored by Beef O'Brady's, located in Sefton, Florida. Beef O'Brady's, great food, great drinks, great service. And, yesterday we're talking a lot about the game yesterday, and I want to welcome everybody to Frankly Speaking Sports. A little bit in the show, in about 5-10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and have Erik Erlendsson joining us. So Erik should be on in a moment. We'll have him join us. I'm going to try to make sure the link is the same exact one that I did send him. I believe it is, so that's good news. So thank you all for coming in and joining us tonight. I do apologize about some of the technical difficulties we had, but we look like we're ready to go. And, it was obviously a disappointing loss. We're going to talk about the loss. We're going to get Erik on in about 6 minutes. We'll talk about the Lightning. Then after Erik is done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to play, we're going to talk more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you're on the Frankly Speaking Sports platform, please go ahead and join. A disappointing loss, lots of mistakes. Let's go ahead and see if I can go ahead and pull up some of these replays from last night.
Second and goal from the 2. Brady will sneak it. And he's in for the touchdown. Kick is up and good. 7-0 Tampa Bay. 3rd and 10 for Breeze on a screen to Kamara. And how do you get through that for the touchdown? And the extra point is good, and this baby is tied up 7-7. 1st and goal, Kamara's in. Easy, squeezy, lemon peasy for the touchdown. Point after by Will Lutz is good, and it's 14-7. From 54 yards away, and it was blocked. Will Lutz for the 29-yard field goal, and the kick is good. From the 32, Brady, right side, picked off! Pick 6, goodbye! Touchdown, Jackrabbit! Third tight end in motion. Brady on the play action. Wide open in the end zone is O.J. Howard. And that's a touchdown for the Bucs. Extra point is good. 10-point game. To the flat, caught, Sanders, touchdown, Saints! And now the extra point for Lutz. It's good. Another mistake for Tampa. They don't recover the kickoff. The Saints do. Field goal is good. Can't make some of this stuff up. Brady looking left. Fade. What a grab. Mike Evans for the touchdown. I don't get this. He throws it away. I don't get this call at all. Onside kick for Tampa. Look at that high hop. The hop was exactly what you would want.
So that's no big deal. So the Bucks end up losing 34-23. And, overall, I thought the defense didn't do bad. We gave up 20 points to the New Orleans Saints. 20 points that shouldn't have. You had Tom Brady, who played a terrible game. I thought overall the defense, except for maybe Carlton Davis, looked pretty good. We only gave up 16 rushing yards to Alvin Kamara. So I thought it was overall a great job by the rush defense, but I didn't think we got a lot of pressure on Brees. Drew Brees did not have his best game, and yet it was still good enough to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, just a terrible, disappointing game for your very own Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then Vita Vea, it's 4th and 2. Just a stupid mistake, on 4th and 2 that gives the ball back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, they continue to make mistakes, and those are mistakes that are going to cost you. I thought Levante David, William Golston, and, Devin White all played terrific. Devin White was all over the place in this game. And I thought he really played good. We're a couple of minutes away from having Erik Erlendsson on. Once he comes on, we'll stop what we're doing. We'll talk a little bit about. But before we go to Eric, let's go ahead and hear what Tom Brady had to say after the game.
With as much buildup as this opener has had, OJ kind of mentioned that this was a little bit of humble pie here week one. Being that it is week one, is there a benefit that you guys, for as talented and as deep as you are, that you tasted here?
Let's see if we can get Tom on here. Okay.
It doesn't matter how much talent you have if you throw interception returns for touchdowns. So, touchdown. I got to correct that. So appreciate it, guys.
All right, we're going to try to get that for you guys again. I'm sorry about that.
With as much buildup as this opener has had, OJ kind of mentioned that this was a little bit of humble pie here week one. Being that it is week one, is there a benefit that you guys, for as talented and as deep as you are, that you taste this here right out of the gates?
It doesn't matter how much talent you have if you throw interception returns for touchdowns. So, I got to correct that. So appreciate it, guys.
His game. And we're going to talk a lot of Buccaneers coming up in a few minutes. But in a moment, it looks like we're about to have Erik Erlendsson on. So let's go ahead. And if you didn't hear yesterday, the Tampa Bay Lightning went ahead and they defeated the New York Islanders yesterday by the score of 4-1, while all of you were probably watching that Buccaneer game. It is my great honor, thrill, and pleasure to bring into you the Lightning Insider. Let's bring in Erik Erlendsson. Erik, how you doing today?
I'm good, Larry. How are you?
I'm doing good. You're coming in great. I wanted to make sure that you are. You are definitely coming in. Hey, Erik, tell me how this sounds. We haven't heard it in a while. We are one win away from being in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, actually, we have heard it a few times, right? Like we heard it in 2018 because they had a 3-2 lead on Washington. We heard it in 2016. They had a 3-2 lead on Pittsburgh, and they didn't close the deal. This is different, obviously, up with a 3-1 lead. It's a little bit of a different situation. But, it's a testament to this team, this group, to come together in these very unusual circumstances and these strange times to put together the type of effort that they're going to. I mean, they have a chance to move out of the first 3 rounds having only played 15 games. I mean, that's just incredible to be able to have that opportunity and potentially reach a Stanley Cup final with only 3 losses under their belt.
Yeah, now, when you look at yesterday's game, and I'm over here, I'm watching both games as I, watching the Bucks here, watching the Lightning here. From my analogy of the game, it looked like pretty much the entire first period, the Lightning controlled the entire game, probably the first half of the game. How disappointing is it for a team when you control a game by that much to allow the other team to score the first goal?
It can be frustrating, and that's one of the areas where this team over the last year has become much, much better, because the Islanders are a team that will test your patience. You can have a period like Tampa Bay did in the first yesterday in Game 4 where you're in control of the puck and you're cycling and you're creating. And I think the shot attempts were 21-9 at even strength in favor of Tampa Bay. So they had plenty of opportunities to score and they didn't. Where maybe in years past, Tampa might have become impatient and maybe they get into the second period and they start to force things, thinking they're trying so hard to score a goal, and they don't let that happen, right? Like they don't get impatient. Now the script flipped a little bit in the second. The Islanders had the puck a little bit more, and of course, the Islanders got the first goal, and then bang, bang, Tampa Bay came back and scored 2 within 12 seconds to take the lead away. So that's where the Lightning can frustrate teams because they can, strike so quickly like they did. But that's the kind of game yesterday where maybe last year, maybe they would have gotten impatient. Maybe they would have tried so hard to try and score that first goal that would have pulled them out of their own structure, and then you get kind of caught by an Islanders team that can be counterattacking. I keep going back in many ways to something John Cooper said after Game 1 against Columbus last year when they had the 3-0 lead. They end up losing 4-3 in regulation. He said they were so concerned about trying to score the 4th goal, they forgot about protecting their own net. And that resonates with me, over a year later, listening to, the players talk now and to see the way John Cooper reacts and to see the way the team reacts. That was sort of a pivotal moment, really, that probably set things up for this season.
Yeah, now, when you look at that game yesterday, and like you said, within, 12 seconds, the Lightning scored 2 goals. Most teams, after allowing that goal, would just fold. I mean, how much of the wind scoring 2 goals in 12 seconds did it just – it just had to deflate the Islanders completely.
Well, and think about the gut punch that the Lightning gave the Islanders in Game 2, right? Like Tampa Bay lost Alex Killorn early in the game to a 5-minute major and was ejected from the game. They lose Braden Point in the second period after a couple of shifts. So they finished the game with 9 forwards, and they're looking at having to face an overtime situation, and then they just ripped the game away from them in the final 9 seconds with the goal from Nikita Kucherov. So that was a gut punch, of an emotional gut punch. And then you get a game like yesterday where in 12 seconds, the Islanders were feeling good about themselves. They had kind of turned the game around a little bit. They were the ones in control of the puck a lot. They were the ones creating. They get the breakthrough and they get the goal. And then, the next shift after that, Yanni Gourde flips a puck up the ice that Blake Coleman is able to catch up to. And then right after that, it's right off the faceoff draw. It's one of those, like, you can draw plays up like this that the Lightning executed. Sometimes it's hard to pull it off, but it's a faceoff win, a D-to-D pass up the ice. Kucherov gains the zone. Point gets it back to Kucherov over the plot, and all of a sudden it's 2-1. It can be gut-wrenching for another team to watch it happen that quickly after they were feeling so good. I don't even think they got the first goal announced before Tampa Bay was ahead 2-1.
Yeah, and listen to these statistics, and you'll it won't be no surprise why the Lightning are doing so great. 13-4, .930 save percentage, 1.93 goals against. What else can you say about Andrei Vasilevsky?
Just like the team, he needed a bounce back playoffs, right? Like he needed to have sort of that type of because he wasn't very good against Columbus, as the rest of the team wasn't very good against Columbus. So he kind of came in with a little bit of that chip on his shoulder too. And the funny thing is we're not talking about him a whole lot, right? Like we're talking Braden Point, we're talking Nikita Kucherov, we're talking Victor Hedman, we're talking Yanni Gordon, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow, what that line has done in these playoffs. Not a whole lot of attention being placed on Andrei Vasilevsky. It's a very quiet Conn Smythe type candidacy for Andrei Vasilevsky. He has played well, but he hasn't had to have those game-stealing type of saves. Like that's another difference with this team this year is that he's not being asked to steal games. They're not putting him under a lot of undue pressure. He's making the saves he has to. Occasionally he'll make one he doesn't have to, and he's quietly, and I mean quietly, put together a very, very good postseason here for Tampa Bay.
Now, Braden Point, I know late in the game got a hit. Have we heard anything about the situation? I mean, is he okay? I mean, you didn't hear a lot about it except that he didn't play. He came back a little bit, then he didn't play. So what was the latest news on him?
Well, as I've said a few times, with injury information in the NHL, during regular times, it's locked behind a hotel vault. We are now in the playoffs, and we are in bubble playoffs, so it's locked behind a bank vault that's guarded by a laser security system. So it's very difficult to get information. John Cooper was not asked today about Braden Point. The team did release a video of practice. I didn't catch Braden Point in the video anywhere. So we don't have any update. He did not leave the bench last night. He didn't play in the final 9 minutes, but he never left the bench, and that's an encouraging sign. So I don't know, and this is a debate that maybe I've kind of wrangled with in my head. Do you rest Braden Point tomorrow, knowing he's battling through something? It's very apparent because the hit that he took was probably bothered whatever is bothering him. So do you rest him, but you have a 3-1 series lead? I mean, you almost beat the Islanders in Game 3 without him. So do you kind of maybe give him a day off? So it's an interesting question that we won't have an answer for most likely until warm-up tomorrow night, because the last couple of times John Cooper's been asked on the morning of a game about a certain player's availability, all he'll say is you have to tune in at game time.
So, you talked a little bit a couple seconds ago, Eric, about, I mean, it's unbelievable Point, Kucherov, Palat. That line, I tell you what, they're just I can't think of a word. They're just that good. I mean, it looks like nobody can, we thought at the beginning they might have been a little slower, but when they turned it up in these playoffs, they're just unstoppable. And Palat being on that, with them right now, I mean, the three of them are just playing some unbelievable hockey right now.
Yeah, I think John Cooper used the phrase triplets 2.0 in reference to the line back in 2015 that had Tyler Johnson between Andrei Palat and Nikita Kucherov. This time it's Braden Point. Braden Point, I think, is an upgrade over Tyler Johnson, and that's not a knock on Tyler Johnson. It's just how good of a player Braden Point is. And just to kind of give it perspective, they are, if I could do quick math in my head, 5, 10, 14, 17 games into a postseason, including 3 round-robin games. Andrei Palat has already tied his postseason season for goals with 8, and both Kucherov and Point are 1 point shy of passing Marty St. Louis for most points in a playoff season. That's how dominant that line has been. They've been able to find enough supplemental scoring when they've needed it. I think they need some more out of it, but it might not matter because those 3 have been so good. They've been so dynamic together. I mean, just the 2 goals that line produced yesterday were just beautiful to watch it all develop and just so in sync and understanding exactly where everybody is on the ice, especially that second goal that put them ahead 12 seconds after Blake Coleman scored. I mean, Nikita Kucherov knew exactly where Andrei Palat was, trailing down open on that left wing side.
And, watching the Lightning for the last couple of years, I'm always a Nikita Kucherov fan, probably one of my favorite Lightning. But I got to tell him, there's a guy that's giving him some competition right now who has played an unbelievable series in Victor Hedman. I mean, this guy is just, whether it's scoring or playing defense or whatever it is, he just seems to be all over the ice.
That's exactly his game. He's really in the last, probably going back to the 2015 run that Tampa Bay went on to get to the Stanley Cup final. And if you want to call that his coming out party, that's where he really kind of took his game to the next level. And now that's why he's a constant in the conversation for the Norris Trophy. And you just watch him play. He commands so much ice at both ends. He's such a dominant figure at both ends of the ice, the way that he can move the puck, the way that he can disrupt plays. I mean, he can and I'm going to steal a line from John Cooper, he can outrace his own icing. That's how good of a skater he is. That makes him that much more efficient. When Rick Bowness was here, he used to say that, it's just not right that a guy with that size can skate as well as Victor Hedman does. That's his greatest strength. His greatest attribute is his ability to get up and down the ice. And because he can do that, he can control so many things. And when he starts to get involved in the offense, and we've seen him a ton, especially in this series, get down low, get in on the forecheck a little bit, be involved below the hash marks. He is such a dangerous player, but then he can make up the speed on the other end and disrupt plays. He is a marvel to watch.
Now, one of the things we've seen actually throughout the playoffs, but probably even more in the Islanders series than any, is this team is getting a little more physical. But as long as they keep it disciplined, and I call it, disciplined aggressiveness, it's not a bad thing because they're letting teams know that, hey, we'll go with you, but, as long as they don't make stupid penalties in doing so.
Well, that's a little bit of the different personality of this lineup that they have this year compared to maybe years past. And, you got to give a ton of credit to Julien Brisebois, first for being able to bring in Pat Maroon. And Pat Maroon sat out on the free agent market for a while before he decided to come here. But he adds that element. And then at the trade deadline to bring in Goodrow and Blake Coleman, paid a premium for him, 2 first-round draft picks, and then Nolan Foote, who was your first-round pick last year, to bring in those 3 players. But it's changed the personality of the lineup. And, Goodrow in particular, like, you don't get to see him much here on the East Coast, right? Like, he's in San Jose. You can watch maybe a couple games. The Lightning only face him twice a year. You don't necessarily understand what kind of a player he is until you see him up close on an everyday basis. And we've certainly seen it in this playoffs. He's a pest. He can hit. He gets around the net. He'll stand up and fight if he has to. He does a lot of the intangible things that maybe don't show up on a scoreboard quite that much, even though he's got a few points in this playoffs. But those type of elements that have been brought in, a Zach Bogosian, who they were able to land after he was cut loose by Buffalo right before the trade deadline, he kind of brings that element too. So it's not overhauling your roster. So this wasn't any sort of a knee-jerk reaction to what happened last year, but it was an understanding and a lot of soul searching that the organization did as a whole after what happened last year. Okay, what areas do we need to improve at? What do we need to be better at? And that's one of the elements that they brought in. And not necessarily the physicality, that's part of it, but you hear this phrase a lot, hard to play against. And all the guys I just mentioned, they're hard to play against.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So let me ask you this, Eric. We are talking to Erik Erlendsson, the Lightning Insider. Eric, how tomorrow night, okay, if they win, the series is over. How important do you feel it is for them to put it away tomorrow night?
Well, it's not necessarily overly important, right? Like, you want to end a series as quick as you can. There's no doubt, especially when you've got some guys, banged up and dealing with some things. Well, obviously, we know Braden Point is banged up. We know Ryan McDonough missed a couple of games in the series against Boston. We continue to forget that Victor Hedman, whatever he did in the round-robin game against Philadelphia, he certainly doesn't shown any after effects of it, but there's that potential there. So the more rest you can get, right, you'll take it in the middle of a playoff run, even one as strange as this. And because I think that they truly did benefit from being able to win that Game 5 against the Bruins and get that advanced rest. I mean, look, they took advantage of a New York team that had to travel the day before and before Game 1 and had played that Game 7. So they really took it to the Islanders, who looked like a tired team in that game. So you're already a step ahead in that situation. So rest is very important. Guy Boucher phrase, rest is a weapon. He used that a lot. I don't think it's end all be all if they don't win it, but there's no doubt you want to end a series as soon as possible. You don't want to give another team, especially one that works as hard as the Islanders, an opportunity to think that they're back in the series.
So what do you look for? Do you look for the Lightning to come out the same how they have been? I mean, they've been successful, so there's not many adjustments. Maybe, I don't know why sometimes it seems like every time we start the second period, it's like a little slowdown for a couple minutes before we get going. But overall, I don't think there's many adjustments this team needs to make. And they just need to go out and play the same fundamental hockey they've been playing, throughout the series.
Yeah, it's stay disciplined, and I don't necessarily mean stay out of the penalty box. That's part of it. But just stay disciplined to your structure. Stay disciplined to what has brought you success. Because if you look at Game 3, and John Cooper said it, that it was a gift-wrapped game. They made so many mistakes in that game because they kind of stepped outside of what's made them successful and fed the Islanders. Even look at the goal that the Islanders scored yesterday. It was a defensive mistake by Blake Coleman that allowed Brock Nelson to get around and find that open space. You got to stay disciplined, be structured, stay patient, be who you are. You're the better team in this series. You're the most skilled team in this series. Don't let the Islanders take advantage of your mistakes. If they're going to earn something, let them earn it, but don't give it to them.
Now, let me ask you this, and I don't want to get into a big whole conversation about it, but obviously Steven Stamkos has been out. Are you surprised that they have played this well without their captain?
This is a team that's loaded with depth. There's no doubt about it. Had this happened a couple of years ago, I think maybe the absence would have been felt so much more because he was your number one center. And if you're without your number one center, that's a big hole. Well, with the emergence of Braden Point, with the emergence of Anthony Cirelli, those are the 1-2 guys down the middle. It's pushed Stamkos out to the wing. And so you can absorb the loss of him for this playoffs because of the depth you have, right? Like you can move up at Andre Palat to play with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point because they've been magical. You can slot in a Tyler Johnson who's normally a center, a natural center. Well, he can come up and play wing in a top 6 role. I mean, that's a luxury a lot of teams do not have. A Yanni Gourde is somebody that you can move up and down the lineup as well. Blake Coleman is somebody that you can move up and down the lineup. So you're able to absorb that loss even for this length and this period of time without him. Now, the power play has missed him. The numbers are a little skewed because they've had a couple of games where they've kind of had a breakout with the power play. The 3 goals against Boston, they had a couple of goals, I think, early in the series against the Islanders in Game 1. So the numbers look inflated because of that, but they've missed his presence. They've missed his one-timer over there. They've missed his face-offs. There's been a couple of games throughout this playoffs where they've missed him in the face-off circle, which is kind of funny to say because that's never been a strength of his, but he's become such a really good face-off guy the last couple of years. But again, you just have to point to the depth that this organization has developed over the last number of years so that if you do miss a guy like him, I mean, look, they almost won Game 3 without Braden Point, so that kind of gives you an idea that the type of depth that they have. So even without basically 2 of your top 3 players, forwards anyway, that you can still have an opportunity to win a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how deep this team is.
Now, with the success they're having, and let's just say hypothetically right now that they go on and they win the Stanley Cup. Stamkos still, I think, has 4 years left on his contract he got in 2016. Does this raise the possibility of the Lightning trying to trade him and get something for him because of the success they had, or do you think it doesn't make a difference?
Not in my mind, it doesn't. I mean, he's still a big part of this organization. He's still a big part of the success and what it is they do and who they are. I mean, the thing you have to kind of keep in mind too is that when he decided to sign here and he had an opportunity to leave, maybe chase a little bit of a bigger contract. He took the home team discount to stay here because he knew something was building. He knew that there was an opportunity for a championship, and he felt that this was the best place for him to try and gain that championship. And I just find it hard to believe that the organization would turn around a couple years later and say, you know what, we don't need you anymore just because of the success that they've had. He's still a vital part of this team, and I know the success during this offseason says otherwise, but he still means so much to this team on so many levels, including the leadership skills. He is a great leader. A lot of people will look at him and say he isn't because he hasn't delivered a championship. It's the same stuff a lot of people were saying about Alex Ovechkin a couple years ago. He's not a great leader. He can't lead him to a championship. Now all of a sudden they won a title. Alex Ovechkin is a great leader. Well, Ovechkin didn't change his leadership, right? Like, he's been the same guy.
Right.
Maybe he's altered his game a little bit. But so is Steven Stamkos. He's altered his game. He's become their best face-off guy now. So those are some of the little things that he's done to develop his game. I don't see that in my mind. I don't think the organization sees that. If you're looking at some other players to have to move because we know there's cap issues that are coming, I think you have to look elsewhere.
So before I let you run, Eric, the best scenario that can happen right now is we win tomorrow night and, Vegas somehow wins the next 2 games and brings that series to 7 games. In the event, because the chance of us talking before that series starts again, if they do end up playing Dallas, who is leading the series 3-1 against Vegas, do the Lightning match up well versus Dallas if that should happen?
I think they do, because the way Dallas is structured is actually a little similar to what they faced here throughout the postseason, right? I think that they're similar to the way they play in Columbus and the structure and discipline defensively that the Blue Jackets play with, and in a lot of aspects the Bruins, and a lot of aspect the Islanders. I actually think the Islanders have the best offensive team that the Lightning have faced in this postseason because of the way that they can counterattack, and the Lightning have contained that as well. They haven't, except for when they've had those turnovers, they haven't let the Islanders get up the ice too much in transition. And I think Dallas is structured the same way. And I don't know if how much people are into retribution tours or redemption tours. They did knock off the Columbus Blue Jackets in round 1. I think that they really welcomed that opportunity to face the Blue Jackets again. You got the Bruins in round 2. You're now facing Barry Trotz here, the team, the coach that knocked you out in 2018 with the Capitals, and you're on the verge of knocking him out of the playoffs. And, if you happen to face Dallas, you got Rick Bowness behind the bench there leading the Stars, and potentially Ben Bishop. He's only played in a couple of games here since the team has come back, and he's still unfit to play, but you still have Ben Bishop over there too. So I don't know how many people believe in redemption tours, but this feels like one being set up.
Well, Eric, why don't you, while you're here, before I let you go, tell everybody, I know I follow you on Twitter at Lightning Insider. Is there any other way people can follow you, or what's the best way throughout the rest of the series and so on to keep in touch with the information?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is at Erik_Erlendsson, so you can see my name listed there. Just put the at in front of it and an underscore between the first and the last name. I have a Facebook page at facebook.com/Lightning Insider. And, of course, my website, lightninginsider.com. It is a premium site, but, there's a yearly package and there's a monthly package if people want to sign up for that. And then I have a podcast. So wherever you have podcasts, whether it's Google, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, wherever it is, just search Lightning Insider. I tend to put out podcasts after each game to kind of recap and get you set up for the next game. So that's where people can reach me.
Well, I know I'll be following you, Eric, and, hopefully tomorrow night's a success, and we look forward to hearing from you again. Thank you so very much for joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports tonight. My
pleasure, Larry. Thanks. A good conversation, man.
All right. Thank you. That was Erik Erlendsson, the Lightning Insider. So, we talked about, the Lightning, and I wanted to make sure we hit on that. They're up definitely by 3-1, but the one thing, because we had some technical difficulties earlier in the show, was about highlighting. So if you missed that, the interview with Tom Brady, you can go back and watch the press conference with Tom Brady. But let's talk about that game yesterday. I'd love to get as many fans as possible. I'm going to check my phone right now because I did give a text also to see someone is Okay, my buddy Eric is on. I see that. Thank you, Eric, so much for joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports. So it's great to see you there, bud. For all of you fans that are listening, let's go talk in depth about this game. And I'd love to get some fans comments on it. Love you to join us on the show. If you type in a phone number right here, if you want to give us a call here, let me see if I can do that here. All right. They'd like to call us. We do have 0. You can call, get on the air with us, and we can talk some. The defense looked okay, but we need help defending the passing game. We were great versus the rush, but Carlton Davis got fooled a couple of times. Some stupid pass interference plays. I think they will be fine. You just need to clear up the passing defense. Now, the offense looked terrible. They did not look in sync. Everybody knows Tom Brady did not look his best yesterday. Yesterday, a couple of them looked like he was accurate. It looked like him and his receivers were on the same page. Give OJ some credit. Give Godwin some credit. They both caught 6 or 7 passes, 70 yards. But the one thing, a couple of things. First of all, I thought the play calling was terrible, completely terrible. Every time they run the ball, they take the tight ends and they bring them in close rather than spreading them out. If you want to run the ball effectively, you've got to be able to take those 4 receivers and spread them out wide. Instead, they bring more people in the box to stop the run. And I don't understand why they keep doing that. Spread out those receivers. Give those runners, Fournette and Jones, an opportunity to get past that first wave in the box, and they will get yards. But if you keep moving these tight ends in, and the percentage of run and pass yesterday was not good. You got to go with things that are working. Unfortunately, not a lot was working. I thought overall the offensive line did a very good job, except for Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith just looks like he quarterback to get hit, allowing the guy to get in the backfield. Just not a great job by Donovan Smith. But you have nobody else. You got to work with Donovan Smith and somehow get him into, ready and to get motivated to play. I thought Tristan Wirfs did an excellent job in his first game, and I also thought that those guys did a good job overall. As far as the running backs go, Ronald Jones has a very tight leash on him. I think Fournette will be the starting running back by game 3. If he doesn't see more touches coming up versus Carolina. As far as the receivers go, guys, I know you're going to get upset at me about this, but I'm not a Michael Evans fan. Michael Evans, to me, seems like 50% of the time he's dog. You need to be in the wide receiver position. Now, don't get me wrong, receiver, which he's proven, but he needs to learn to use his physicality and strength to jump after the physical, and they need to teach that. Somebody needs to wake up on that coaching staff and teach him that. I thought O.J. Howard looked great yesterday, and we talked about this on the show, how O.J. Howard will probably be used more than Gronkowski, and everybody looked at me like I was some lunatic out there. Well, what happened yesterday? Exactly what I said. He called play action pass to him in the end zone. He looked terrific. So very, very pleased with that from O.J. Howard. But there's a lot of things, you know, Drew Brees did not play great yesterday. Was a 4-yard field goal blocked. Ladies and gentlemen, that had a Kappa that was next to him on special teams just got pushed back, and the Saints sucked up, but it is on the special team. Then you get this, which we showed you the replay earlier in the show, the Mike Edwards. Who the heck is teaching this guy? Anybody knows that when you're running backwards, you don't go after the football unless there's no one behind you, especially when the ball's to go out of bounds. He hits Mickens. Mickens fumbles, and the Saints get 3 points out of it. Good job by the defense to hold them. But special teams, coaching, a lot of people out there are talking about, yes, the players play the game. Certain players did not today. Now, for those of you fans out there that are overreacting, I guess you're calling it Overreaction Monday, calm your ass down, okay? This team will be fine. This team has never, ever played together. I'm hearing people, that's the thing about the Tampa fans. I don't know if fair weathered is the right word, but, one game and you're ready to throw the season in. It's one game. This team is going to be fine. They need a little bit of help in their coaching right now. I mean, it needs to wake up. And I'm going to say this again. With a couple of different, against the passing game, they did not look good, although Drew Brees did not look good yesterday either. Against the running game, that team looked good with, especially when Pierre Paul, who did get one yesterday, I don't know the future. Once again, if you're following us, a message under the comment. Love to get some of your questions. If you want to go ahead and join me here, I just put up, hopefully it'll show up in a second, a link so join us on the air. There it is. It's trying to come up right now. Well, it was coming up. So, it should come again. Scotty Miller looked great. Scotty Miller is going to be a key player on this team. It just seems like he not he aggressive. Oh, you threw it over my head. Uh, you know, that's what he's lacking out there. He's just not impressing me. He almost wants to cry about it. And I thought Devin White is going to be a true leader. And I thought Antoine Winfield in his first game, you didn't see a lot of mistakes from him. He's almost felt comfortable that being his first game. But going back, fans, calm down. It's one game. There's 16 games in he lost. 23 loss. It's a tough loss. Donovan Smith is definitely one of our, liability. His show earlier tonight, we don't have anybody else to put there that's better than him. So we have to fix him. And, I don't know what they got to do to him, but that's, that's the coach's job to figure out what they have to do to get those certain plays. They don't want to hear people going out there saying, is Tom Brady washed up? Tom Brady is not one. A piece of paper doesn't guarantee wins. If that was the case, they just give you the damn word, and you have to go ahead and things will work out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you look at some statistics from yesterday, Tom Brady was 23 of 36, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, but bigger than that were the 2 interceptions, 1 for a pick, which, was just, I hate that play call. I thought Scotty Miller had 5 receptions. Howard had 4. I think Godwin had 6 or 7. And like I said, Scotty Edelman is going to be the next. I think everybody's starting to see that he's going to be like that. If you look at some other stuff looks like this. Levante did 4 assists. So those 3 guys in the middle, everywhere they need games. And tomorrow night, we're going to have the USF report and writer Bradley Lewis Walker on. So every 1 victory against the team needs to not make dumb plays. You know, I believe TB12 does need help, especially on about it. No doubt. I mean, obviously the kickoff where Edwards runs into Mickens is just a complete stupid play. Vita Vea, it's 4th and 2. You teach your guys constantly in practice on 4th and 2, you don't jump offside, and that allowed the New Orleans to get a first zone infraction, and it cost us dearly. So absolutely correct. You got to get rid of these back is. It seems like every time they use that play, it's a pick 6. Just get it the hell out of your playbook. Get it out of your playbook. We'll continue to take comments. We got about 9 minutes left. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ask me any questions you want, any concerns you have about the Buccaneers. I will be more than happy to answer while we have 9 minutes. Please, if you're on you know, cruel life, you let me see it. I got a couple of different sites that I'm on. Comments on either of those. So, you know, folks want to go ahead and leave a comment here, I would let it, and definitely get involved and answer your question. So please go ahead and do so. I'm going to leave a link up here. If you guys want to call in, the number here is 8 call, and I know so he can do. And we want to thank Erik Erlendsson